Hello, my name is Tehana Weeks. My mother is Julia Alexine, formerly Cummings, now Weeks, and my father is Aurelius Benedict Weeks. My father's parents are Zenobia McCormick and Anthony Benedict Weeks. I have two brothers. My father has two sons, Cecil Benedict Weeks and Eric Colcrick. My great-grandfather is the Reverend J.I.A. Weeks, John Isaac Alexander Weeks. Well, my dad is an engineer. Actually, he retired about a year and a half, 2 years ago, but because of his job as a mechanical engineer building plants and mines around the world, we would get to sometimes visit him in different countries around the world. So growing up, we got to go to China, Oman. Where else did we get to go? We got to go a couple other places to visit him and spend time. So those were some great memories, just being able to travel with my father. In my household, both my parents were very focused on their children getting a great education. For himself, I know that he got a degree in physics in Liberia, and he got a degree in engineering here in the States at Michigan University. My mother has a degree in music. She went to USC, and she has a master's, and she even has a doctorate, actually. So they're very, they have a mind for education, I suppose you can say. I know one thing my father told me when I first went to college. My parents were kind enough to drive me up to school and set up my room. They did a great job with everything. And then they left me with some money, and I blew through it very quickly, and I asked for more. And my dad said, okay, I'm going to give you more, but you have to learn to manage your money, and especially your credit. He was very adamant about managing credit, because he said credit is very important in this country. So that is one lesson that I'll never forget, and I think I've done a pretty good job. I have a pretty high credit score. So my parents talked about Liberia a lot, especially comparing the difference between American kids and Liberian kids and what they experienced growing up. Crossville specifically, I would have to admit that I didn't learn too much about Crossville until later. It might have been one of those things that you hear a lot. Like I heard about their schools and B.W. Harris Convent, CWA, and stuff like that. And so maybe Crossville was one of those things that I just heard here and there, but I didn't really know too much about it or understand that that is like the town that my father and his family were from until later. And I learned a lot about it when I went to Liberia. We had a family reunion in Liberia in 2012. And we had like about a week or so, 4 or so days of like activities that were planned for us for the reunion. And one of the sort of field trips was a trip to Crossville, where we went and got a tour of a little bit of it. We went to, I guess, one of the Weeks brothers had a church there, and went to see our great grandfather's house there. Toward the cemetery plot next to the church, and between the house and church, there's I guess a cemetery there. And we went to Cousin Wilford's old home, and we saw a little bit of. So that's when I really learned the most about Crossville. But I knew it before then, but not much. So both of my parents talked about Liberia a great deal, especially when they were around other Liberians. They would reminisce fondly about it. I think the fruit was always sweeter. They had people to help them, and they had now nice homes. Everyone had a nice home. Everyone had a nice farm. There was, I can't even think of all the things they would say, but it was growing up. Yes, I heard lots of Liberian old stories about my parents and their friends, and what they would do, the trouble they would get into. you know, my dad has a story he likes to tell about getting in trouble at school and then going, and then one person after another beating him, because I think he got a beating at school and then he got a couple other beatings, and he got in trouble. We heard the story about how he went to go swimming at Brig Cora Palace. He wasn't supposed to do that, so he got a couple beatings for that. So yeah, and then when I was there, I got to see some of those places, see Brig Cora Palace, which is, you know, not what it used to be, of course. But okay, so the first time I went to Africa, I went to South Africa. My uncle was working there and had a home there and had us come to see him for the holidays. So I was there for Christmas and I believe the New Year, and got to go all around South Africa, Johannesburg mainly. That's where they were. And the second trip to Africa was to Liberia for the family reunion. We were there I was there for about 3 weeks. So we had some exploration of the city a little bit, Monrovia primarily. Before then we had about 4 days of activities for the reunion. And some other things after that. And I did get to enjoy just seeing different places around my Monrovia, where my parents, you know, kind of grew up. Specifically, you know, one woman in particular was kind enough to take us around to my mother's family homes around the Monrovia. And then, like, as I mentioned before, we got to go to Crocheville and went to different family members who currently are in Liberia, who have houses there, have built houses there since moving back. You know, they grew up there, lived in the U.S. or somewhere else in the world, and then moved back. So a few family members have moved back to Liberia. They have homes there. Cousin Fifi just built a house there. Cousin Fimi has a house there, which was one of the headquarters. Cousin Rochefort has the same house that he had, I guess, for a very long time. We spent some time there. And yeah, we stayed in one of Cousin Milton's homes there. And we got to see places that I would hear about, like people would say, oh, what's that road? Some road that they would talk about there. But anyway, I can't remember it now. But so it's interesting to see places that people had been talking about and what they are now, which is not the same as what they were when they were growing up. But honestly, my favorite dish right now, and has been for many years now, is I mean, I love all of the classics, as I could say, or everyone's favorite, like palm butter, cassava leaf. One of my favorites is okra sauce, and I really like palava sauce. My favorite that right now, and that's been my favorite for a while now, is shrimp gravy and cassava. My mom makes an amazing shrimp gravy and cassava, and I made it for myself the first time earlier this year, and it came out very well. So I'm very happy about that. Look forward to making it again. So, my dad, currently married to my stepmother Brenda, and her son Art. I think his favorite food is gravy. I don't know if it's check rice and gravy, but I know he loves gravy. So, but I enjoy check rice and gravy. Honestly, I'm a big fan of food, period. So, and I love Liberian food. So I really do enjoy all of it, but I had to pick a favorite right now. Shrimp gravy and cassava. I definitely want to continue to visit. I know my father's father left my father like some business endeavors and things like that we can look into, and there's land that our families have. So I definitely want to go back. I want to continue to visit. Unfortunately, I have not been back since I visited in 2012, so it's been a very long time, almost 10 years, which is too bad. But I look forward to going back. I will try to, we talked about having family reunion there every 4 years or so. So maybe we will try, the pandemic hit, and we were actually trying to plan a reunion in Barbados. We were supposed to have a Weeks family reunion in Barbados in 2020, July of 2020. But of course, we all know what 2020 held in store, had in store for all of us. So we pushed it to July this year. We had to push it again because things are just so uncertain. So now there's a big question mark about when we'll have that. But I definitely want to go back to Liberia. The experience of visiting Liberia was, it's very fulfilling, very heartwarming, very eye-opening. There's a lot of work that needs to be done. A lot of, people of my generation have gone back to try to help. It's a challenge. Um, but it was just really great to see the country my parents grew up in, the place I've been hearing about all my life, to finally get to see, Monrovia, Crocherville, Bushford Island, these places that, Zucco Palace, and, I think we maybe passed by CWA at one point. And so we hear all about these places for so long. So I think we might have seen Huntington and LU and things like that. So when I was younger, I guess my Liberian culture and my American culture would clash, because my home was Liberian, and in my home, pretty much in Liberia, and there are just differences, especially when it comes to like respect. Respect is a very big thing in our culture. Respecting your elders and the way you speak and approach people. I remember growing up, my family, I don't know that every Liberian family is very big on this, but in my household, both my parents hated to hear what. So when they called you, the correct response was never what. You don't answer what. It's yes, mom, yes, dad, or yes, mommy, yes, daddy, yes, mommy, yes, gran, yes, auntie, so that's a big one. Especially on my mom's side, when we would sit down to eat as a family, if we had like sort of the food on the table, you would dish out according to your age. Or even if we weren't sitting out to eat at the table, if the food was in the pot and you were going to get it out of the pot and go sit, it goes according to age. Everyone dishes out according to age. And that is still to this day how we do that. And just, you can see or hear American children talk to their parents in certain ways that are just not going to fly in your Liberian household with your Liberian parents. As I said, respect is a very big ideal in the home. And then just other traditions. So that's probably the biggest one, is just how to navigate interacting specifically with my parents, in spite of what I would see on TV or within other friends' homes and things like that. So said you have to speak and you have to say hello, how are you? Yeah, speaking. If you go to a Liberian event, you have to go around, say hi to everybody. Otherwise, they say you can't speak. Yes. Well, I grew up in the suburbs, went to public school all my life, except for pre-K. The years leading up to kindergarten, I went to a private school. But then, growing up in the suburbs, we had a pretty decent school. So I went to public school through all my life, through high school. Then I actually went to a private college. I went to a small school called Carnegie Mellon there for college. And after college, I decided to pursue a career in the entertainment industry. Specifically, wanted to be an actress. So I completed a summer program in Boston with the Stanislavski School, Moscow Art Theater School, American Repertory Theater. Then I was back in Houston for a while, did some theater in Houston. I came out to Los Angeles to do a one-year conservatory program with the New York Film Academy. And then I've been out here pursuing acting ever since. I've done, some short films, some mostly small projects. I've produced and directed and started stuff. I've done theater out here, done web series, done lots of things. I just did an ad, a PSA. Those were this year. Done a couple web series, and yeah, just have done a couple different kinds of projects. And I'm still, actually today I had 3 auditions. So 2 were for commercial and 1 was for a voiceover project for Disney. So I would say it would help if you do something you really like or love, would be better. And if you're really passionate about it, I think that's probably half the battle right there, just to be very invested. And it probably helps a lot if it doesn't even feel like work. because then you can put a lot into it, because the more you put in, as they say, the more you get out. And that being said, being able and willing to be focused and work diligently at your craft or whatever skill, trade, career, be open and want to learn, be curious, continue to want to learn and grow. I don't think there's ever a point in life or in our careers where we can say, well, I'm done growing and learning. Yeah, and then just be a good, decent person. I think there is a saying that it's not who knows you, it's not who you know, it's who knows you, and it's not what you know, it's who you know, right? So if people get to know you and they like you and they want to work with you, they'll remember you, and that will, I mean, building that those bonds, those friendships, those relationships, building that network and being remembered in a positive way will go a long way in any industry, in any career, especially in mine. I think that's also very important. I'm inspired by my parents, my mother and my father, my family, both my grandparents on both sides. They've done great things. They're very, very intelligent, thoughtful. They've got a lot of wisdom. They've overcome a lot. So I'm inspired by them. Family. I was nominated for Outstanding Lead Actress in a web series. The film I produced, Coin, actually won what's called a Bronze Remy Award last festival season. Anything else? Guess that's it for now, I think. I mean, I won some awards in like high school for acting as well, but I won't get into those. I was actually awarded a full scholarship to the IO West Theater Training Program, which is, if you're in the industry, especially if you're in comedy, it's a nice little thing to have. And my father, I believe maybe 2018, I think it was, maybe 2019, 2018, 19, maybe it's 2019. He was awarded, he got an award from, I think it was BW Harris, awarded him for being a great engineer, something like that. I think one of the greatest ways we can show appreciation to our ancestors is to be the best versions of ourselves and be as great as we can be, accomplish all that we could accomplish, everything that they could not do, you know. And little and small things, I think, even if we just take the time to enjoy life in ways that maybe they couldn't, whether they were slaves or free, but had to work really hard all the time. You know, so I think self-care is very important, and being able to like just be a little bit indulgent. I think that's something that, you know, we can show appreciation by saying, you know, they couldn't maybe do it, but we can now. And taking time to acknowledge, you know, them, whether outwardly or just mentally, inwardly acknowledge and say thank you and be appreciative of them, and know that we stand on their shoulders, and continue to, you know, pave the way, and provide light for the next generation to come. I don't know. I mean, I'm looking forward to just learning more about, I mean, I can't wait to see this. I can learn more about Courchevel, the people of Courchevel, the history there. I know it's just an interesting history, the history of Liberia. You know, having a country founded by freed slaves. And then Courchevel has its own unique history with, you know, being founded, populated by, and maintained and run by for people from Barbados.